Welcome back to another episode. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Seth Goldstein. Seth, could you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I've run a digital marketing agency just north of Philadelphia for more than 15 years now. And we do everything from websites through SEO, digital marketing consulting, email marketing, podcast production. So keep busy.
Okay, so we're going to dive right in. Today's question, Seth.
Yeah.
How did your agency get its first 10 customers?
Hustling. Lots and lots of hustling. Meaning going out to networking events, schmoozing, talking, telling people what I do. I had joined a few networking groups and it was all word of mouth, really. So,
right. So it was all just networking and hand to hand, shaking hands with people.
Yeah.
No ads or anything.
No, I did it all the old fashioned way.
Yeah. That's actually interesting you say that because a lot of times I see new startup founders struggle to get things off the ground because it's getting like the most difficult part of any business is getting the first customer, not the second. It's getting the first $100 into your bank.
Right? It feels so good though when you get it.
Yeah. And a lot of times people get a bit too fancy with their marketing. They try to go out there with this complex marketing plan when really you just got to start texting, emailing, like you said, hustling. Yeah. Just get that first customer through the door and you're set.
Yeah. Get the first customer. They talk to the second customer talks to the third customer. Sometimes the first customer talks to the fourth customer. And if you're good, even if you're not good, like, you're learning. And most customers, when you're just starting out, will understand that and will be understanding to a point. So
do you remember the first customer you ever signed up?
My first customer actually was more than 15 years ago. My first customer was 1997. I was taking SEPTA, the original rail, to high school. And one of the business ladies on the train, I would talk to everybody. This is how I am. And she was wanted to do a recipe site. This is 1997. This is before WordPress. This is like hard coding websites and all that. And I can do that for you. That's my first client. First client as a business, I don't remember because it kind of just picked up and ran. You always remember the first client.
Yeah.
I was 17 years old and it was like, this is cool.
A lot of people don't remember the dark days before WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, Shopify. When you had to hard code a website, man, those were the days. Those CMS really came a little bit later.
Yeah, it came in 2004, WordPress.
Right. I remember like when I started building websites, there was WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, but man, they were, Joomla, those were rough to use.
They're still rough.
Are they still around? Like Drupal, Joomla?
Drupal's around, Joomla is still around, but WordPress powers, I think the latest stat is 47% of the websites online are run on WordPress. Yeah. For better or for worse. I love WordPress, don't get me wrong, but you have to stay on top of those updates.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, then it's hackable. If you keep on top of it, it's not hackable.
Our website, Penji, is actually built on WordPress.
I'm glad to hear that.
It takes a hell of a lot of optimization to get it running fast, though.
Oh, yeah. Its 20th birthday was this year.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's 20 years old. So they're slowly optimizing the code.
Yeah. What are some tools or softwares that's been game-changing for your agency?
Oh, I love Adobe. Oh, Adobe's evil. Adobe just works. Adobe, and then a good browser, really. So the kind of mainstay, but Vivaldi's really good. Firefox is really good. And when you're doing websites, you got to test across a few of them. Also, Browser Stack is great because they own every single phone under the planet.
Browser Stack, okay.
BrowserStack.com. It's not a cheap product, but what it is it's not a simulated device. It's actually a device somewhere in the world that you're actually tapping into. So it's not an actual phone rendering, which is really cool.
Okay. Yeah, that is pretty interesting. So, Seth, how do you get a customer to pay you $25,000 or more on a contract?
Number one, you provide the value. You show the value. Actually, it's more what it is. You show the value of what you've done for other clients. You show that you have the repertoire going. You can't start off your business that we were talking about at the beginning. You can't go in saying it's $25,000 for your first gig. You're not going to get that. But 15 years in business, you can get those numbers, which is really nice. And you can get that by showing testimonials, showing people what you've done, and also providing them with an outline, a very clear discovery call. They feel confident that you are asking the right questions of them so they see the value.
Yeah, I think you hit on something there, which is asking the right questions. So I'm going to give you a scenario. I think, Ryan, you've probably been through this as well, where imagine you sitting down with an agency or honestly anyone. You know what? How about this? Remodeling your kitchen, okay? You sit down with someone and they ask you 3 questions. So how big is your kitchen? What's your budget? And then they just start giving you options that are just all over the place, right?
Yeah,
versus another person, you sit down with them, they ask you, okay, what do you typically cook in your kitchen? What kind of cuisine cuisine do you cook? How often do you use your kitchen? And then they just ask you a bunch of questions to really understand your use and your family and everything.
To get to know you.
You're probably infinitely more likely to hire the firm that asks you the right questions. And I think asking the right questions is really key to getting people to, number one, just trust you before they're willing to spend any amount of money on you.
They have to think, they have to know that you care. Not think that you care, because you should care. They have to know that you care about their product, you care about their business, you want them to succeed. Because ultimately, if they don't succeed, you built them a website, and then what's that going to do for them?
Yeah, exactly. I think asking the questions so that way you're solving an actual pain point that they have, rather than just selling a product that you have to get rid of from inventory.
Oh, God.
Well, let's talk about some of the wild things that's been happening on social media lately.
Geez.
Threads. What do you think of Threads?
This is an interesting one. Usually I install software on my phone, or apps on my phone. It's really what it is. And I keep it on there. And there I have apps that I don't use anymore on my phone. Threads I've uninstalled and reinstalled probably 15 times since this come out.
Really?
Because I don't know what I think. Because it's, number one, it's Facebook. And I'm like, they're evil. Unlike Google never said that they weren't evil. So I'll give them that. But Threads, when it first came in, I was like, everyone's here. That's fantastic. I have an instant community, and they did a good job curating that. And then everyone kind of got inundated with everyone's on there, and no one knows how to make it work. And there's no desktop app, and there's no way to really manage it off your phone. So they have a ways to go, in my opinion. I don't think it's a failure. I don't think I don't even think the metaverse, for that matter, is a failure. I just think they got distracted, and now they're on to the next big thing. But I think Threads is going to be there. Whether it will ever federate with the Fediverse, Mastodon, I don't know. They say they want to with ActivityPub. That will make even wider adoption, I think.
Threads supposedly was only built with a handful of developers, like 20-something developers built Threads. Did you know that?
Pretty wild. It's pretty well made, considering that only that many people developed it. Maybe it's pretty well made because of that, though. Not too many hands on the product. Because when you think about it, if you have like 300 people working on a project, and if you don't have a good revision history, someone screws up, you have to go through 300 people to figure out who screwed up and how they fix it and all that. You 20-something developers, it's easier to kind of nail down where the problems existed. So maybe that's why it's a halfway decent product coming out the gate.
I feel Thread has a major disadvantage compared to Twitter because it's apparent. We all know it's a copy of Twitter.
He kind of smirked when he said it. He's like, you're a copy. He's like, in his robotic face.
And I think Threads originally makes a lot of sense because they made a claims that it's going to solve a lot of Twitter's problems that users are experiencing. But I'm not sure if people are actually seeing those solutions right now.
They're not.
It's nice that people are flooding into Threads. I mean, it's pretty easy. You have an Instagram account, you're pretty much on Threads automatically.
Yeah. Press a button.
Yeah, but it lacks a lot of features that Twitter has. So the sentiment that I'm hearing is that Threads is a watered down version of Twitter.
For now.
Yeah, it's true. It is new, so we'll have to see if the later patches actually makes it more competitive.
I always say Zuck's on. It's as if he's really on it completely, but they'll figure it out. There will be a place for Threads. Like there's a place for Mastodon still. Everyone's like, oh, Mastodon's going to go by the wayside. That's the Twitter alternative that's open source. That's always going to be there. And Threads is always going to be there. Twitter might not be there if Elon keeps doing what he's doing with everything he's doing, but you know what?
Let's jump into that.
Yeah. That's a topic.
Well, speaking of which, is Twitter gone? Because it's not Twitter anymore.
That's a good brand exercise.
Exercise. I see what you did.
It's interesting because it's kind of halfway still there. It's still called Tweets, or at least last time I checked, it was still called Tweets.
He supposedly is not called Tweets. It's called Post now.
Which makes more sense. It makes more sense.
But I feel like Tweet is like a nice proprietary branded thing that it got going on, right?
It to X. But he's all upset that, PayPal and X, because he had X for a very long time.
Yeah. Exactly. I think he wanted to name PayPal X. It was originally called X.
He's bitter about that. So he's like, I want to change his name. my 10-year-old son can do a better brand exercise than Elon with the merge. Like half the time it was like X in the corner and it says sign to Twitter. I'm like, it's not that hard to change all the words to find and replace and find Twitter, change it to X. Like he kind of half did things.
Yeah. And with this, what I feel is interesting about his branding approach to Twitter is, well, a lot of times you have a business, you have an idea.
Yeah.
And then the name typically, or the brand, complements what you're doing. In this case, it seems like he really wants X. He wants X.com to be a thing, and he's forcing the company to mold its brand around this name.
And it's an old company too.
It's very old, yeah. And so I feel like that backward logic doesn't seem to mesh very well because, and like you said, you can see the inconsistency where it's X.com and then it says sign up for Twitter here, right? That's very strange. And I just don't understand. I mean, maybe there is a greater plan that we don't know. Who knows? I mean, the guy's insanely wealthy.
So, he's also insane.
Yeah.
So.
I said insanely wealthy.
He's a little bit of both, yes. No, I said insane. I'll own that. I think he's just insane. So.
He is out there. But Twitter is already a great brand. I mean, it's controversial, but at least it's a very known brand. Why not make another version of Twitter called X? I feel he has the money to do that. He absolutely has all the money in the world to just make X.com a thing.
Yeah, everyone else is making a Twitter clone. Why can't he own Twitter and have a Twitter clone at the same time?
Exactly. And capture that market himself.
Exactly.
Who knows?
Who knows what's going on in his brain?